Die Hard wasn't just another action movie, it was a revolutionary gamble that transformed a TV comedian into an action icon, filmed in a half-finished skyscraper with real FBI screw-ups as inspiration and genuine terror captured on camera. From Frank Sinatra's legal right to play John McClane to glass fragments still embedded in Bruce Willis's feet decades later, this Christmas classic rewrote every rule of the genre. Let's dive into 20 shocking secrets behind the film that changed action movies forever.
Come out to the coast, we'll get together, have a few laughs.
Number 1. The iconic line was almost cut.
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
Bruce Willis improvised one of cinema's most quoted catchphrases completely off script, and studio executives immediately wanted it gone. They thought the line was too crude, too silly, too unprofessional for a serious action thriller. But when test audiences saw early cuts, their response cards overwhelmingly praised that exact moment as their favorite part of the entire film. The studio reversed course, kept the line, and inadvertently created the franchise's signature trademark. Today, that improvised phrase appears on merchandise, in parodies, and in pop culture references worldwide. It's the perfect distillation of John McClane's character, irreverent, tough, and refusing to take himself too seriously, even when facing death. Without that test audience pushback, one of cinema's most memorable one-liners would have vanished forever. Number 2. Bruce Willis wasn't the first choice. The casting process for John McClane was a Hollywood nightmare spanning months of rejections. Producers desperately pursued Frank Sinatra, Clint Eastwood, Robert De Niro, Harrison Ford, Burt Reynolds, Richard Gere, and nearly a dozen other A-list stars. Every single one passed on the project, seeing it as just another generic action script. Bruce Willis wasn't even on the initial list because he was famous exclusively for Moonlighting, a romantic comedy television series. Action studios didn't believe a wisecracking TV comedian could carry a serious thriller, but desperation breeds opportunity, and Willis lobbied hard for the role, convinced he could bring vulnerability and humor to the character. The studio took a massive gamble on an unproven action lead, and Willis transformed his entire career overnight. That last resort casting decision revolutionized what audiences expected from action heroes. Number 3. Hans Gruber's fall was 100% real. Alan Rickman's terrifying plunge from Nakatomi Plaza wasn't achieved through camera tricks or stunt doubles. It was Rickman himself dropping 40 feet onto an airbag below. The special effects team told him they'd release the platform on the count of 3, giving him time to prepare mentally and physically. Instead, they dropped him on 1, capturing his genuine shock and absolute terror. Watch that scene closely. Rickman's expression isn't acting, it's pure survival instinct and betrayal. The crew knew they needed authentic fear for the shot to work, and they got exactly that through deception. Rickman was furious afterward, but admitted the footage was perfect. That split second of real human panic elevates the scene beyond typical Hollywood stunts. Sometimes the best performances come from genuine, unrehearsed emotion. Number 4. The film is based on a novel. Die Hard adapts Nothing Lasts Forever by Roderick Thorpe, but here's the twist. That novel is itself a sequel to The Detective, which became a 1968 Frank Sinatra film. Because of contractual obligations from the original movie, Frank Sinatra legally had to be offered the role of John McClane first before any other actor could be approached. Sinatra was 73 years old when Die Hard went into production. He politely declined, as everyone expected, but that legal requirement delayed casting and added months to pre-production. The entire modern action franchise we know today technically exists because an elderly crooner passed on playing a barefoot cop crawling through air ducts. Hollywood's contractual legacy created one of the most absurd casting requirements in film history, connecting old Hollywood to the modern blockbuster era through pure legal necessity. Number 5. Nakatomi Plaza is the real Fox headquarters. That iconic skyscraper wasn't a set or a clever composite. It's Fox Plaza in Century City, the actual headquarters of 20th Century Fox. Even better, the building was still under construction during filming, giving the production team unprecedented access to unfinished floors perfect for action sequences. This real location made Die Hard one of the most cost-effective action films ever produced despite its scope. The production could shoot practical explosions, gunfire, and stunts in an actual high-rise without expensive set construction or elaborate miniatures. Office workers in finished floors continued their daily routines while chaos erupted in construction zones above them. The building's authentic architecture, functional elevators, and genuine scale gave the film a grounded realism that purely studio-bound productions couldn't match. Sometimes the cheapest option produces the most expensive-looking results. Number 6. The glass scene was brutal for Bruce Willis. The famous sequence where John McClane runs barefoot across shattered glass wasn't movie magic. Bruce Willis actually ran across material that injured him. The production used sugar glass and breakaway panels designed to shatter safely, but many pieces retained sharp edges despite quality control. Willis performed the scene himself, and fragments cut into his feet throughout multiple takes. Decades later, Willis has confirmed in interviews that tiny pieces of glass remain embedded in his foot tissue, visible on x-rays but too small to remove safely. The pain on his face during those scenes is completely genuine. That commitment to authenticity shows in every limping step and pained expression throughout the film's second half. Willis literally bled for this role, carrying physical reminders of John McClane's ordeal for the rest of his life. Number 7. Alan Rickman's first film role ever. Before Die Hard, Alan Rickman was an accomplished stage actor with zero film experience. He'd spent decades perfecting his craft in London theater, particularly with the Royal Shakespeare Company, but had never faced a movie camera professionally. Director John McTiernan cast him based purely on stage reputation and screen tests, gambling that theatrical training would translate to cinema. Rickman brought Shakespearean gravitas to Hans Gruber, treating the role with the same seriousness he'd give to Hamlet or Richard III. That classically trained approach elevated the villain beyond typical action movie antagonists, creating a sophisticated, intelligent adversary worthy of respect. Die Hard launched Rickman into immediate stardom, leading directly to his roles in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, Galaxy Quest, and eventually Professor Snape. One perfectly cast villain role transformed a theater actor into a cinema legend overnight. Number 8. The script was rewritten daily. Die Hard's production was creative chaos, with writers, director, and actors constantly revising dialogue, motivations, and even plot points during filming. Lines changed between takes, entire scenes were reimagined overnight, and character arcs evolved based on what felt right in the moment. Even the film's ending wasn't finalized when cameras started rolling. Multiple conclusions were written, debated, and eventually filmed to decide during editing. This improvisational approach terrified studio executives who expected a locked script before production began. But the flexibility allowed actors to find their characters organically and gave the film an authentic, spontaneous energy. Bruce Willis's sarcastic quips, Alan Rickman's measured delivery, and supporting characters' natural chemistry all benefited from this fluid creative process. The movie feels alive because it was genuinely being invented day by day. Number 9. The FBI agents Johnson & Johnson were inspired by real bureaucratic screw-ups. Those two overconfident FBI agents who bumble their way through the crisis weren't random comic relief. They were deliberate satire based on actual federal law enforcement failures from the 1970s and 1980s. The screenwriter researched high-profile cases where FBI arrogance, poor coordination, and bureaucratic turf wars made situations worse instead of better. The Johnson & Johnson naming joke emphasizes their interchangeable incompetence and institutional groupthink. Their cavalier attitude toward collateral damage, dismissal of local police input, and absolute certainty in flawed tactics mirrors documented real-world incidents. McTiernan wanted to critique the militarization and overconfidence of federal agencies during the Reagan era. The characters work as both comedy and commentary, making audiences laugh while subtly questioning authority worship. Sometimes the best satire hides inside popcorn entertainment. Number 10. The machine gun ho-ho-ho sweatshirt was a last-minute prop idea. One of Die Hard's most iconic images, John McClane's darkly humorous message to Hans Gruber, wasn't in the script or planned during pre-production. The crew needed something visually striking and thematically appropriate for the scene where McClane sends a violent message to the terrorists. Someone suggested spray painting the dead terrorist's body, combining Christmas imagery with brutal irony. The prop department threw together the sweatshirt in hours, using whatever materials were available on set. That improvised costume piece became instantly iconic, appearing on countless t-shirts, memes, and holiday merchandise. It perfectly captures the film's tonal balance between violent action and dark comedy. The image works because it's simultaneously funny and horrifying, showing McClane's psychological state and desperate situation. Sometimes the best creative choices happen under pressure with minimal planning. Number 11, Willis's real screams were used for the air duct scene. Bruce Willis has publicly acknowledged his genuine fear of heights, a phobia that created authentic terror during several of Die Hard's most memorable sequences. The scene where John McClane dangles from an air duct shaft, screaming in panic, captures Willis's actual psychological distress. He insisted on performing the stunt himself despite his phobia, believing the authenticity would improve the performance. The production rigged extensive safety equipment, but Willis' acrophobia kicked in regardless, producing those raw, desperate screams. McTiernan recognized the footage captured something no amount of acting could replicate, and kept those genuine reactions in the final cut. Every other actor might have faked that terror convincingly, but Willis' real fear gives the scene visceral impact. That vulnerability became central to John McClane's appeal. He's genuinely scared, genuinely hurt, and genuinely struggling, making him relatable despite extraordinary circumstances. Number 12. Al Powell's Twinkie speech was mostly improvised. Reginald VelJohnson's charming monologue about his past mistake and current desk duty wasn't carefully scripted. He developed most of it through improvisation during takes. The writers provided the basic backstory, but VelJohnson fleshed out the emotional details, rhythms, and personal touches that make the moment resonate. His natural warmth and conversational delivery made the speech feel like a real confession between two people forming an unlikely friendship. The director loved how VelJohnson's performance grounded the film's more outlandish elements, providing emotional anchor points between action sequences. That ability to ad-lib authentic character moments separated Die Hard from typical action films where supporting characters exist purely for exposition. VelJohnson created a fully realized person in limited screen time, making Al Powell's character arc one of the film's most satisfying emotional journeys. Sometimes actors know their characters better than the script does. Number 13. The party extras weren't actors. They were real Fox employees. To save money on background performers, Fox decided to populate the Nakatomi Christmas party with actual company employees rather than hiring professional extras. Office workers, executives, assistants, and staff members volunteered to appear on camera, bringing authentic corporate party energy to the scenes. Their genuine familiarity with each other, real workplace dynamics, and natural behavior created background atmosphere that hired actors might have struggled to replicate. These non-actors weren't trying to perform corporate professionalism, they simply were corporate professionals being themselves. The cost savings proved substantial, but the authenticity proved invaluable. Watch those early party scenes closely, and you'll notice the extras interact with casual comfort that comes from actual workplace relationships. Fox accidentally discovered that sometimes the cheapest solution produces the most realistic results. Number 14. The explosions shattered real windows on the Fox lot. The pyrotechnics team underestimated how powerful their explosions would be inside a real building. When they detonated charges for major action sequences, the blasts shattered windows in nearby structures across the Fox lot, including production offices and sound stages housing other films. The studio received angry complaints from multiple productions dealing with broken glass, disrupted filming, and safety concerns. Insurance costs skyrocketed, and the special effects department faced serious scrutiny from studio executives. But the explosions looked spectacular on camera, providing practical effects that miniatures couldn't match. McTiernan argued the authentic destruction justified the expense and complications. The studio reluctantly agreed after seeing dailies, but implemented stricter safety protocols for remaining explosions. Those real, uncontrolled blasts give Die Hard's action sequences a dangerous unpredictability that carefully controlled effects often lack. Number 15. The script originally had a dark, tragic ending. In Roderick Thorpe's novel Nothing Lasts Forever, the story concludes with the villain dropping the hero's daughter from the building to her death, a devastatingly bleak conclusion. The film adaptation transformed this character into Holly Gennaro, John McClane's estranged wife, and significantly softened the ending to allow for potential sequels and broader audience appeal. Test audiences responded extremely negatively to darker versions that killed major characters or left relationships unresolved. Studio executives wanted a crowd-pleasing conclusion that balanced the film's brutal violence with emotional satisfaction. This Hollywood compromise actually improved the story, making the stakes personal but allowing for redemption and reconciliation. The ending we got, Hans falling, Holly surviving, the couple reuniting despite everything, provides catharsis without betraying the film's tone. Sometimes commercial considerations accidentally improve artistic choices. Number 16. The SWAT team was portrayed as clumsy on purpose. John McTiernan deliberately made the SWAT team incompetent as political commentary on police militarization during the 1980s. He wanted to satirize heavily armed, overconfident tactical units that prioritized firepower over intelligence. The SWAT assault on Nakatomi Plaza, complete with an armored vehicle, overwhelming force, and catastrophic failure, was designed to critique law enforcement's increasing militarization without civilian oversight. Their clumsy execution, poor planning, and disregard for hostage safety mirrors real incidents from the era. McTiernan balanced this critique with making Al Powell, the beat cop, the competent professional who actually understands the situation. The film suggests that street-level officers with community connections often prove more effective than heavily armed specialists. This satirical element went over many viewers' heads in 1988, but resonates more clearly with modern audiences familiar with militarized policing debates. Number 17. Bruce Willis' shooting schedule was built around his TV sitcom. During Die Hard's production, Bruce Willis remained contractually obligated to moonlighting, creating a logistical nightmare. He filmed the sitcom during daytime hours, then rushed to the Die Hard set for overnight shoots, essentially working around the clock for months. This exhausting schedule shows in his performance. The bags under his eyes, the genuine fatigue, the physical wear aren't makeup effects, but real exhaustion. Willis survived on minimal sleep, constant travel between sets, and pure adrenaline. The production accommodated his schedule by shooting his scenes at night and filming around him whenever possible. This punishing routine contributed to his performance's authentic weariness. John McClane looks exhausted because Bruce Willis was exhausted. Sometimes method acting happens accidentally through impossible production demands rather than intentional preparation. Number 18. Carl's final comeback was added in post-production. The shocking moment when Carl, presumed dead after his fight with McClane, suddenly reappears for one last attack wasn't in the original script. During editing, producers felt the film needed one more jolt before the finale, a final scare when audiences thought danger had passed. They hastily scheduled additional photography, brought back actor Alexander Godunov, and filmed the surprise resurrection. This last-minute addition required careful editing to integrate seamlessly with previously shot footage. The scene works because it violates audience expectations. We've already mentally checked Carl off as defeated. His sudden return creates genuine shock, and Al Powell's heroic intervention pays off his character arc perfectly. That improvised sequence, conceived months after principal photography, became one of the film's most memorable beats. Sometimes the best storytelling decisions happen in the editing room rather than during production. Number 19. The Nakatomi computer room was one of the most expensive sets. Despite appearing briefly on screen, the high-tech computer room where Hans Gruber attempts to crack the vault cost more than several major action sequences combined. The production designer wanted cutting-edge 1980s technology that would look impressive and believable. This required renting or purchasing actual computer equipment, custom displays, and functional systems, rather than fake props. The room needed to operate for filming purposes, with screens displaying actual data and systems appearing genuinely sophisticated. This attention to detail consumed enormous budget resources for relatively little screen time. However, that authenticity grounds the heist plot in tangible reality rather than vague movie magic. The computer room's genuine technological complexity makes Hans Gruber's scheme feel plausible and methodical. Sometimes brief scenes require disproportionate investment to maintain the film's overall credibility. Number 20. Die Hard invented the modern action hero. Before John McClane, action heroes were invincible supermen, muscular demigods who never showed fear, never bled meaningfully, and solved every problem through superior strength. Schwarzenegger, Stallone, and Norris defined the genre through physical dominance and minimal vulnerability. Die Hard revolutionized this formula by creating a hero who was scared, injured, desperate, and completely out of his depth. McClane bleeds, cries, makes mistakes, and survives through improvisation rather than superior training. He's a regular cop having the worst day of his life, not a superhero seeking adventure. This vulnerability made action heroes relatable for the first time, proving audiences wanted to see realistic consequences and genuine struggle. Every action film since, from Speed to John Wick, owes something to Die Hard's template. The film didn't just succeed commercially, it fundamentally transformed audience expectations and genre conventions for decades to come. Die Hard proved that revolutionary action cinema required vulnerability, not invincibility. If you loved uncovering these behind-the-scenes secrets, hit subscribe for more Hollywood history. Sometimes the best stories happen behind the camera.